addresses, and even got a database of all the embassies around the world for people in different countries that has a template letter that, they pretty much on Capitol Hill ignore stuff that's the same thing over and over again,
That's a good point.
So, people need to personalize it. They need to educate themselves a little bit, find out that this is real, by, studying some of the testimonies, and then write a, remember the movie V, where, if everyone who's listening would like to have an event like that, only through the Internet, make their voices heard to the representatives in Washington, I encourage every listener out there, to send a free online fax at disclosureproject.org, and it's very important that you don't just use the template and you put it in your own words, and, send it to your representative. Imagine if only a fraction of the, what do you have, like 15 million listeners, did that, what a stir that would cause in Washington.
Oh, they think there's a new election underfoot, wouldn't they? It's been 7 years. It's been 7 years since the 2001 event. How do you think things have changed, if they have changed, in terms of perception of the UFO issue now?
There's more stuff coming out. You can see what's happening on Larry King, with, like John Callahan was on there and some of our other witnesses. And, essentially, though, I don't see anybody in mainstream media talking about what was said at the press club, which is that, back in 1954, so, when Eisenhower warned of the misplaced powers of the industrial military complex, that these projects went deep black and unacknowledged, and they basically used our national security system basically to seize the interests of the corporations that were involved. And, I remember Colonel Corso's testimony speaking of the corporations that were reverse engineering some of the technology and disseminating it into the civilian sector. This is something that is just a taboo subject that I just don't see it on the media.
The fact that governments are starting to release most of their UFO cases, we think, but like Britain, France, Brazil, we haven't done that yet here. Why is that, in your opinion? Why hasn't this government simply said, all right, here they all are, some were classified, but here they are? Why don't they let us see that? Because it's gone undercover, hasn't it?
Well, the United States is essentially the main controlling interest on the subject. If you if you look at what the media is saying, it's saying that we are not alone. Well, it's interesting that secret government insider Dr. Werner von Braun was saying that they had plans way ahead of time to create these what they call false flag events.
Yes, that's right.
And one was to weaponize space by having a false flag attack from outer space, and that we would need a multi-trillion-dollar weapon system, which would feed the industrial military complex quite well to perpetuate its paradigm the way we've been going, instead of going out in space in a peaceful way. They're thinking of putting all these weapons in space
and how they can make money doing it.
Yeah, you have to look at you have to keep having an enemy. You have to keep creating new weapons. It's a cycle that keeps on going, and if you don't have an enemy, you don't have new weapons. You're out of business. So. And if they release the fact that they have the technology to get off of oil and, ionizing radiation back, 50 years ago, there goes a multi-trillion-dollar oil industry. So we know the effects of that today. So, you have all these elements that they just can't come out and say, okay, we've been lying to you for 50 years. We've actually had the technology, and yes, we made contact and this and that. There has to be some type of amnesty program to get these people. They're in this perpetual loop of a lie has to cover with another lie, has to cover with another lie. If you look at hundreds of witness testimonies, and they all, basically paint pictures of this is what's going on, but it's not being covered in mainstream media. Basically the public needs to, have an awareness of what's going on in order to change this, because the representatives aren't going to do anything, and the military can't do anything. It has to be, coming from the public.
These large triangular-shaped objects that people are seeing all around the country, and they've been seeing it since at least the Phoenix Lights and probably beyond that, as a matter of fact. What do you think this object is? Do you think it's ours, or do you think it's E.T.?
I have no idea, but, I know that probably maybe half of them are, secret government projects, because we have inside witnesses that have testified that we have, faster than light craft, and anybody in their right mind would see this, and they say, oh, my God, this is from outer space. It has to be extraterrestrial, but it's not. There's a lot of top secret, beyond top secret projects that have technologies that, to the average person would look like, it's coming from outer space.
The person who mentioned Werner Van Braun's discussion about the threat of the false flag was Dr. Carol Rosen, who was his aide, and she worked with him very closely over the years. Do you think they can put that together and they could create this kind of false threat? And how would they do it, Dan, if they did? I mean, I assume they'd have to have the objects in order to do it, right?
Well, if you take what Ben Rich, head of Lockheed Skunk Works, said, that anything you can imagine they've already done, and considering all the science fiction movies everybody watch, we could probably imagine quite a bit, and we have the witnesses that have seen these hovering saucers that are made in USA. It wouldn't be too hard to pull off at all.
So we'd wake up one morning, much like the movie Independence Day. Gosh, it's coming up, too. Maybe next Friday they'll do this to us. But we'll see over major cities, assuming it's a false flag, we'll see these ships. Here's the big question, though. What if it's real? I mean, is that possible?
Well, why would they wait until we have, weaponry or an advanced technology now to attack us, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation, I think, is the most rational, approach to that. Are they hostile or not? It's a...
I agree with you. I think they're going to come up with a false threat in order to keep generating the kind of fear that they need in order to keep spending money in defense-related issues and companies. And I think they probably have said there aren't too many more countries left we can create wars with, maybe Iran, so we're going to have to come up with something a little bit bigger, and that's probably it. I would not be surprised if something like that happened.
I wouldn't be surprised either, George. You have to think about what's seated in the subconscious minds of everybody who's seen the movie Independence Day, the movie Signs, War of the Worlds, on and on, all these evil aliens coming to Earth, to destroy us and take over our planet. So it wouldn't be too hard of an imagination to sell that idea.
What do you think the public would do if they create a false flag? Let's assume we don't know it, though. And the public wakes up that day and they see this and they panic. Do you think they're going to bow down, Dan, and simply say, please help us, governments, do what you need to do? Do you think that would happen? Or are they more sophisticated now? Would they say, you folks are pulling the wool over our eyes?
Hmm. Well, it's a pretty savvy group on, I would say the group that listens to Coast to Coast.
Yeah, they know.